Hello everybody and welcome back to Gardens and Crystals with me, Wesley Peterson, and today we are out in the area of our garden here at Crystal Cottage called Westside Garden. And here in Westside Garden I have my biggest lupine flower bed, Lupinus, that I absolutely love and adore. But it is the middle of June now and my lupins are starting to go on from flowering to seed heading. And this is the time when I need to get in and cut all those seed heads off because we don't want this plant spreading all over in the garden because it is a prolific spreading plant if allowed to. So I just want to show you my lupine plant bed closer up, and you can see all of the flowers in their beautiful colours here. And all the seeds that are starting to grow in the capsules all the way along these long stems. And they're still young and green, so it's a perfect time to get out and prune them off. And then we still have these wonderfully starry kind of shaped leaves that I really love and enjoy as well. So when all the flower heads have gone, we'll still be able to enjoy the leaves of this plant for some time afterwards. And you can see in this flower bed I have a few different colours, the main one purple, but there are pinks and all sorts of different other colours, and it's just wonderful. Now where I live in Sweden, this plant is actually classed as an invasive species and it grows along all the roadways, anywhere where it can get bright direct sunlight. And the most common colour of it is deep purple and pink, and sometimes you will get other varieties of colours. And I just want to show you some pictures of these plants in lots of different colours that I've had in my garden where they've been cross-pollinated somehow and produced lots of lovely colours from the purple and the pinks that are the very common colours all along the roadways. Now this plant is actually probably classed as an invasive species right across Europe. It grows very easily because it spreads underground with its root system very easily, and then they produce tons of seeds on long seed heads that dry and then fall out everywhere, or the birds eat them and they spread around. But as I said before, this is a bright sun loving plant, and that's why you often find it along motorways or highways and places like that, open field areas around the edges where it has the chance to proliferate and take over the area. This plant is also known for draining the soil of all the nutrients, so it makes it difficult for other plants to grow around it. But I love this plant, so I have a flower bed here full of lupines, and they get as tall as me when the flowers come out, and I really enjoy them. But because they are an invasive species, I do keep them under control. I get out, as I said, and I chop off all the seed heads before they have a chance to mature. And another reason why I do this is this plant maybe flowers 2-3 weeks here in the middle of summertime, June time, and then you're just left with these seed heads that don't look very nice, and then all the leaves. So I'll cut the seed heads off, leave the plants for a while they're looking okay, and then after a while those leaves and those stems will start looking a little bit sad and tired and not so good. So I will go in and chop them all the way down, and then the plants will flush out again, but lower. So instead of being a metre tall, they will be 30-40 centimetres tall. I'll get a nice mass of leaves that I can enjoy looking at still through the rest of the summer. And some of the plants do try and push out some more flowers later on, but it's not as prolific as you can see behind me right here now. But as I said, many of the flower heads have gone over. Now, it is growing in different areas of my garden too, and I absolutely love that because I do need a pop of colour here and there, and this plant really does give a beautiful pop of colour. So those plants, I go in and I cut off all the seed heads as soon as the plants start going over, and they haven't spread at all anywhere. So I'm okay because I'm keeping on top of it, and that's all you need to remember. If you want to plant this plant, keep on top of them. And while I'm doing this video, I also want to show you another flower bed I just want to give you a zoom over it and show you the plants that I'm talking about, because 2 years ago, I had one specimen of this plant in my garden, which is also an invasive species, actually, and another beautiful plant with lovely, tall, beautiful flowers on it. And if I say the name foxglove, then most of you are going to know what I mean. And I mean, its Latin name is Digitalis purpurea. This plant is also absolutely gorgeous. And I had one plant and I let it sit. I moved it actually from our wild orchard garden into the botanical garden, into a flower bed. I let it go to full seed, and this plant gets the most tiny seeds, and they are thousands, and they spread all over that flower bed. And I discovered that the plant ball at the bottom, the leaves, actually stay evergreen, which is something I'm always looking for in my garden here in Sweden, because 8 months of the year is mostly nothing but either green evergreens or brown. So I was really, really happy actually. And I let them stay in that plant bed. They got too many, and I started putting them along a plant bed I have at the edge of the border of our garden here in Westside Garden. And now, 2 years later, because they're biannual, so they need the first year to grow, and then the second year they will start flowering. This is the second year of these plants, and they're all flowering now, and they're all looking wonderful, and I want to show you them as well. I just wanted to give you a chance to hear that wonderful bird song at the same time as showing you these beautiful flowering plants here. Such lovely colours, this bright pink colour. These also come in whites and creams and peach and different colours as well. So I'm hoping with time I'll be able to go out to some garden centres or around and about and get me some seeds of these in different colours to mix in, so that I get some wonderful combinations coming out of these as well. But at the moment I'm really enjoying the pink, because I've actually placed pink rose plants in amongst them that will start flowering later and better next year as well. And I already actually have a grouping of them coming up on the side of my lupine flower bed here. They are taller than the lupins, and they are absolutely spectacular together. So I'm really happy about that combination, and I want to show you a couple of pictures I've taken of them together so you can understand what I mean and why I'm going to let that plant go to full seed this year, so that I can get this plant spread out in the areas that I want it to be. And when I have enough, I will also have to go in and prune off the seed heads of the foxgloves, because they are extremely prolific spreaders as well. As I said, I had one plant that came all by itself in our wild orchard garden. I moved it to the botanical garden, and already this year, well, I have a whole array of this plant from one mother plant. So all I'm saying is, if you have invasive species, be careful. They are absolutely beautiful, wonderful plants. We love looking at them. But if you have them in your garden setting, keep on top of them, because they will spread and take over every single flower bed you have otherwise. Anyway, I need to get in and prune the seed heads off. And as I said, I'm going to keep all of the heads that have flowers on them still, even if they've gone half to seed. Until they're completely gone to seed, they're going to stay there because I want the colour. But all the ones that are only seed heads, I will prune off now. And I will just get one and bring it closer so you can see what I'm talking about. So an example of a completely spent flower head is this. And what I usually do, there you go, you see it, all the seeds coming. If you didn't take that away, that would be hundreds of seeds ready to take over your garden. So you need to get rid of these if you don't want this plant to spread in a certain area. If you do, leave them and it won't take you long, more than a season. And these will already have spread quite invasively, let's just put it that way. These are the seed heads. They don't look very nice when they're like this either. I usually prune these off till I get to the thickest bunch of leaves, and then you'll have a lovely leaf mass without the long stems like this sticking up. So let's go to fast forward while I go in and tidy this up. I absolutely love getting out in my garden and doing jobs like this, knowing that by pruning back like this I keep these plants very healthy, and knowing that these beautiful perennials will come back every single year and give me this lovely array of colour. There's a lot to get rid of, to say the least, but it is well worth getting out and getting rid of these and just keeping the beautiful amount you want as your statement border. And while I'm at it, I also take out the wildflowers that have been giving me a lovely array of white flowers in this case. They're also going over to seed. I don't want those spreading everywhere, but I do allow wild plants to grow in my beds. I love a mixture of wild and things that I've bought. It fills out the beds. It looks more natural in a country garden, and it saves money, time to fill out the borders. And as long as you keep on top of these things as much as you want to, you can enjoy them. I really love wild plants, and they're great for the insects. Now, as you can of course see, I will have to go out and do this again later. As I said, I'm not taking everything off, even if they've just got a small amount of colour on the top. I do want to keep those to extend this season for at least another week because I love these plants. So this will be an ongoing process until they're all gone in a week's time, probably. But then, as I said, I will have the Digitalis purpurea, the foxglove, coming up, and I will be extending that so that comes out next year, so that the lupines will go down and the foxgloves will come up, and it's going to be absolutely wonderful. So yes, it looks a little bit messy and rowdy, but I don't care. That's the way I love my garden. I am not looking for something to be completely and utterly controlled, completely and utterly conformative and perfect. I get garden designing ideas. I put plants where I think they're going to be okay. I cram in plants some places. I spread out plants in places. I put different plants in different borders, and I might put the same plants in all sorts of different borders. And that's the way I want it to be. I want it to look half wild and half kept. That's the best way to do it. It's less stress for you. It's more fun. And that's just the way I like to do my country garden design. And I've noticed that when you're in the cities, people try and keep their gardens absolutely perfect and immaculate. Their lawns are completely level, no weeds whatsoever, only one species of plant, the grass, and then they've got their borders that are perfect and well kept and, you know, well looked after. And I love that. It looks beautiful. I love it from a distance because I know it is extremely hard work, and that goes for adding annuals to your garden to get lots of colour, because annuals need a lot of water to keep the flowers, to keep the energy in the plants. And in this day and age, water seems to be quite scarce. We're always having water bans in the summer, and we need plants that can sustain themselves without having to be watered by us all the time. And that is what I'm trying to create here as well. This garden gets very dry in the summer. I do go out and water, but I'm trying not to water too much. I want to see what can survive and take the environment as it is, the environment as it changes, the different microclimates of the garden, and just look and watch and see what survives. And that is why, unfortunately, many of these perennials and biannuals, and sometimes annuals, that come up by themselves proliferate and do really well. And that's why I want to keep some of them in my garden, but in a controlled way. Better get on with this. You know what? For now, I think that is it. I have a wheelbarrow of pruned off seed heads from my Lupinus, my lupin plants. And the others that you see behind me still have flowers on, but they've got a good week left before I need to go in and prune them back completely. And then I'll be devoid of colour here in these spectrums. But in the middle, behind my bench, I have some beautiful hydrangeas that are coming up, and they will get big white heads on them very soon. So I will have that to look at and enjoy, and in different places in the garden. So as the season goes on, different flowers come out, different flowers fade, and that's the beauty of a garden, a country garden. But I can still enjoy this wonderful mass behind me as long as it lasts. So that was just a video on basically if you do enjoy some of these plants that are classed as invasive species, plants that you're told that you should get rid of, rip up, take away. If you have them in your garden, just keep on top of them, get out there and get rid of the seed heads. And then you can carry on enjoying these plants. And there's something that I really do enjoy about these plants is the insects absolutely love them. And we need to do all we can to help the bees, the honeybees, the bumblebees, the flies, the hoverflies, everything else, the beetles, all sorts of different insects that are going on around your garden that are keeping the natural biodiversity of your garden alive. Insects that are helping to weed out certain plants, certain diseases, aerating the soil, cleaning the environment around you, encouraging the birds. Birdsong, listen. The birdsong is gorgeous, and it's all part of Mother Nature. It's all part of how it's supposed to be. Every garden, of course, is a much more unnatural environment, a man-made environment, a controlled environment. The amount you control it is different from place to place. Some people have very minimalistic gardens, very well kept gardens, half-kept gardens, country gardens, wild gardens, forest gardens, meadows. You know, there's so many different types of gardens, and that is what makes it so wonderful to get out in nature and see what we can create, design and work with. And just as long as you're out there enjoying it in your own way, looking at it, appreciating it, absorbing it, taking it in, letting it fill you up with happiness and positive energy, that's what it's all about. So anyway, I just want to say thank you very much once again for watching Gardens and Crystals with me, Wesley Peterson, in my garden here at Crystal Cottage. Please remember to like, subscribe and hit the bell so you know when my next video will be uploaded, and I will see you again very, very soon. Goodbye.